How's it going, everybody, and welcome to episode 341 of Master My Garden podcast. Now, this week's episode is a good one, and it's a listener's request. So, Ivy, who is a listener from Connemara in Ireland, has sent an email asking for an episode on the 10 essential herbs for the garden. And I suppose there's a couple of ways we can go with this. Obviously, you have culinary herbs, you have medicinal herbs, and there's a little bit of crossover, but if you only had to grow 10 herbs, what would they be? So it's a good topic. There's going to be some obvious ones in there, but then there's a few that might squeeze in that you might not expect. But all 10 will be very, very useful herbs and suitable herbs for an Irish garden. So yeah, it's a good topic, and yeah, as I said, there's a few kind of angles you can take with that. Before we get into that, a little mention for this week's sponsor. It's ProBioCarbon, and as I've said before, been using both of their products for a long, long time. So Cran is a liquid that you can apply at all stages of plant growth. It has Bacillus subtilis and Pseudomonas, so beneficial bacteria you can apply at all stages of plant growth. In the last week, I just applied to the tomato plants, um, potato plants, apple trees. Again, another treatment of apple trees. And what you find after an application is that you get a flush of growth. So I apply it with seaweed, and you get a flush of growth and a kind of a strengthening of the plant leaves. So that's a brilliant product. I also use the uh, enriched biochar from ProBioCarbon, which is biochar. We all know the benefits of that. If anyone's listened to the podcast for a while, you've heard me speaking about it. But the one from ProBioCarbon is enriched again with Bacillus subtilis and Pseudomonas. And so I apply that to the beds, um, you know, at the start of the growing season, and there's multiple benefits of biochar, but also this one, as I say, is enriched with these beneficial bacteria that is native to Irish soils. So you're basically supporting what's already there, or if you're, using compost that is maybe not fully loaded yet, you're sort of supercharging your soils or your growing media. So, brilliant product. You'll find all the details on probiocarbon.ie, and the link to that is in the show notes. So, yeah, Ivy, a listener from Connemara, has asked for the list of 10 essential herbs to grow in the garden. And I suppose there is some obvious ones, but there's also, there's so many herbs that can be grown, and it's kind of hard in a way to, I suppose, condense it down into 10. But you know what's you use, what works for you, what you use culinary wise, medicinally wise, may be different. So these are kind of 10 herbs. I have all of these in the garden. Yeah, I do. Um, and they're kind of my go-to ones. So, and a lot of them are easy to grow. A lot of them are regular use. So, if you use a particular herb on an ongoing basis, or if you're, buying dried herbs from your store or your supermarket, and you use it on, as I say, a regular basis, then some of these are so easy to grow, and it would make total sense to, grow them for yourself and have them in your own garden. So let's get into it. List of 10 essential herbs. Some of them will cross over. I'll try and kind of cover it because medicinal herbs and culinary herbs, some people might have medicinal uses that might be their main goal for growing their herbs. Somebody else might be growing them mostly for the culinary aspect. But there is a little bit of crossover. So I'll give you 10, and then we can see, which ones fall into both categories. So first one is probably one of the most used herbs in our garden, and it is rosemary. And the beauty of rosemary is that you don't need a lot of plants. So maybe for general household, one or two plants, it's going to be loads. So you don't need a lot of plants. It is perennial. So perennial means that it comes back every year. And for us, it has multiple uses. Uh, the favored use here is for roast potatoes. And our youngest girl, Emmy, she knows now what it is in terms of a name. But back a couple of years ago, she getting her teeth potatoes was not, I wouldn't say tricky, but it was always crunchy potatoes or roast potatoes that she wanted, and not mash or any other roast or any other forms. So um, yeah, so mashed potatoes, or sorry, roast potatoes is what she always wanted, but she always said, "Give me the green things on it," and it was always rosemary. So she loves that on it, and yeah, it's when we're making roast potatoes, that's what's with it. As a result of that, it is a regular use herb here. So certainly 3, 4 times a week, rosemary would be used. So from a couple of plants. Now my plants are in the polytunnel, um, but it is perennial. It will come back year after year. It's very, very easy to grow. It's very hardy. It will grow almost anywhere. The only thing I would say about it is that it is, and a lot of these are the same. They're, Mediterranean type plants, so they will like free draining soil. They don't mind if it rains a lot, so long as you can get free drainage around them. So if you're planting them in the garden, put them somewhere where you can add in, a little bit of gravel into the mix so that they will drain freely. They don't sit in water. If you do that, they will be fine. They'll thrive. So if you live near the coast, then you can get the horizontalis, which is the I suppose the horizontal growing one rather than the upright one, and that can make it a little bit more hardy for windy coastal conditions. But rosemary, definitely. Possibly, yeah. I would say it's the most used herb here, I would say. Or it's certainly up there. It's one that's used several times per week. Uh, I don't dry the herbs. Some of them I will freeze. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But rosemary, for example, it's fresh all year round from the tunnel. And yeah, it's definitely, if you have a list of essential herbs, rosemary would have to be on it. If you're growing for medicinal purposes, then rosemary would be on that list as well. So brilliant for both kind of categories. Um, I'll remind you at the end, but we have another herbal workshop coming up in September. Keep an eye out for that if you're interested in with myself and Laura Darcy. So Laura's a brilliant herbalist, and I look after the growing part on the day. Laura looks after the herbal part, and that's on, I think it's the 5th of September. But keep an eye out on the website, on my socials and so on, because yeah, that was, we did one back in April and it was brilliant, but covering medicinal herbs. So on to the next one on the list, and again, it's one of my go-tos. It's not used as regularly as rosemary, but it is also a herb that's definitely on a weekly basis. It's used mostly used for stuffing, and it's sage. Again, a perennial herb. Again, a herb that once you have it in your garden, you will have it, going forward. And it's, yeah, if it, in terms of, stuffing, it is a gorgeous herb. It's a lovely herb to even just eat off the plant, single leaf, really high um, antibacterial effect from that. So, from a medicinal perspective, it's really good as well. But it's our go-to for stuffing, so onion and sage stuffing. And yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. And again, it's perennial. And again, 1 or 2 plants will do you. You can do with sage, there's some beautiful bronze colored ones that can be added in. So if you have, near your house, near your kitchen, if you have, say, a flower bed, you can add in these beautiful bronze colored ones. They will look really well, but they'll also serve the medicinal or the edible or the culinary part of the herb as well. And they'll, as I say, look good close in a flower bed close to the house. And next one on the list again is a perennial. And this one again will be used several times per week. And it's thyme. So same thing, rosemary, sage, and thyme. The three of them they're perennial herbs. So that means they'll come back year after year. They're there all the time. Most of them, or the three of them, would like roughly the same conditions. So not sitting in water, free draining soil. But once they have that, they will reward you year after year after year after year. And definitely, when it comes to a list of essential herbs, they would have to be on it. So rosemary, sage, and thyme, the top number one, two, and three for me. Fourth one, people often refer to it as a weed once it's in your garden, but in terms of taste, in terms of easy to grow, in terms of the amount that I use, then chives has to be on that list. Yes, it does go to flower. The flower is gorgeous, by the way. Yes, it will self-seed. Yes, it will take off elsewhere, but it's very, very easy to remove if a new plant pops up somewhere you don't want it. So don't let that stop you. It will spread. It's the nature of it. It will set seed in places that you didn't necessarily want it to, but as I say, it can be very, very easily dug up once you see a new seed popping up. As I said, the flower is beautiful on it as well. Flower is edible, but the fresh stems from chives are absolutely delicious. And again, it's an essential herb here. I said that rosemary was probably one of the most used, but actually, when I think about it, in terms of the frequency of use, I would have chives, I would say 5 or 6 days a week. So eggs in the morning, a couple of chives on it. Stir fries, chives go in. Yeah, so very, very regularly used herb here. And again, one that, so easy to grow. It's it is perennial in that it comes back year after year after year. It's not evergreen, whereas the rosemary, sage, and thyme are evergreen, so you can harvest off that 12 months of the year. There are certain times when they go into flower that the leaf, is not just as nice, is not just as there's not as much. It goes a little bit hard during that time when it's in flower, but other than that, rosemary, sage, and thyme are there constantly. Chives does die back in the winter time, so you don't get, outside you won't get much of a harvest. You get no harvest off in the winter. In the tunnel, though, funny enough, I'm able to get some little bit of a harvest pretty much all year round, and yeah, that's another essential herb for us here. Next one on the list is slightly different. So the first four have been perennial, meaning that they're there all the time. The next one on the list is biennial. So that means that it's a 2 year cycle. So again, it's a very, very well used herb here, regularly used for different uses. So we have parsley, and the two types that I'm talking about are curly parsley, which is the traditional one here in Ireland, and flat leaf parsley, which is traditionally seen as a more Italian type herb. And because of the slight difference in it, they're used differently as well. So for us here, the curly parsley is the traditional one, along with the sage in stuffing, and yeah, a regular herb here. These ones are ones that you can really use like at here at home here. What we do is harvest the parsley, uh, scrunch it up really, really tightly, even chop it a little bit, press it into ice cube trays, and then freeze them. And then when you're cooking, you just pop out the tray, pop out an ice cube or a cube of frozen parsley, pop it into your cooking, your stew or whatever it is, and you have beautiful herbs really, really quickly. So find that a very, very easy way of storing them. Again, I grow it in the polytunnel, so I do have fresh all the time anyway. But that's a good way of having parsley, at ready and at hand all over the winter time. So the curly one, typically I'll have two or three plants. I have a friend who uses a lot of it and calls regularly for it. So I'll have a couple of plants of curly, one or two plants of flat leaf that's used typically in our pasta dishes. So, you're doing your creamy pasta, and at the end, you're adding in chopped flat leaf parsley. Again, beautiful kick to it. And yeah, a well used herb here. So that's number five on the list. Number six on the list is another brilliant one. Again, we would use it quite a lot in your Italian based foods, your pastas, uh, any of your pasta dishes basically. And it is organic oregano. And again, it's one that you have in the garden. It will spread, it will serve seed, but it's a brilliant herb, a really nice herb for Italian cooking, and the flowers on it are really loved by pollinators. So you you grow it once. When it goes into flower, you'll see the bees just coming to it. I have it outside. So it's one that was sowed, I don't know how many years ago now. Have self-seeded a little bit into a couple of places, but it's a beautiful, beautiful herb and used very, very regularly here. So that's oregano. Next on the list then is basil. And basil is one that, so all of them so far have been kind of constant, with you have them in the garden. Once you have them, they're kind of there all the time. Parsley, obviously, because it's biennial, needs to be sowed or planted every second year. But other than that, they're constant. This one is more of a you have it for a certain period of time every year, but when you have it, it is absolutely delicious, and that's basil. So again, for me here, I have 3 or 4 plants of basil, and when the tomatoes are ready in the tunnel, you go out and you get a couple of tomatoes, some fresh basil, and a bit of sourdough bread, and I don't think there's anything nicer. So it's one of these short term for us here. It's one of these short term herbs that you have for a little small window of time, but it is so rewarding. That taste, that fresh basil, fresh tomato, sourdough bread, um, very little beats it in terms of taste. So that's one that, it's an essential herb for certain times of the year. It is a herb that really likes warm conditions. So typically here in Ireland, that's going to do really well in a greenhouse. Doesn't do so well outside, but not impossible, but doesn't do so well outside, as I say. More suited to indoor growing here in Ireland. But an essential herb for a certain window of time during the year. And yeah, as I say, a beautiful, beautiful window of time. Next one on the list is not often, well, it is a herb, but it's often seen as, you know, it's basically bay laurel. So it's a tree, a large shrub, grows kind of anywhere, super tough. For us here, it's the same thing. It very much is used in Italian cooking. Don't dry it, don't, harvest it. It's just fresh off the plant anytime we want it. And what we use that for again is your Italian dishes, your spaghetti bolognese, your lasagnas, any of that type of thing. And you basically go out when you're cooking, take 2 or 3 leaves is all you need. So this plant will grow really big. You'll have way, way, way more than you need always. But a very, very rewarding and simple plant to have. It will grow everywhere, grow anywhere. It's tough, doesn't mind exposed conditions. I know Ivory requesting this list is in Connemara. It will grow there, no problem. Useful to grow in a pot. Um, but in terms of usage, single leaf, harvest it, a couple of leaves, take them in, and as you're cooking your bolognese, you scrunch them up in your hand, and what that does is it kind of breaks the leaf and allows the oils to sort of come out of the plant. So you break them, you scrunch them in your hand, then you throw them into your pot, and you allow that flavor to flavor the, as I said, typically Italian dishes. The other thing that I use it with is if I was cooking, say, bacon or that type of meat. Add a couple of leaves into the water along with some cloves. Delicious taste on it. So that's another one that's essential in the garden. Um, you will not use the amount you have. So like they grow into big plants. Every year it has to get pruned to keep it into the where I have it, keep it into the relatively small space where it is. But as I say, you're only using a few leaves at a time, so you'll always have bay laurel and another brilliant one to add to the garden. Next one is a little bit like basil. It comes for kind of moments throughout the year. Some people love it, some people hate it, and that is the case in our house as well. I love it. My wife doesn't love it so much, so I grow it on and off, and that's coriander. And yeah, I personally, as I say, I love it. I like it in salads. I like it in, stir fries and that type of thing. But not everyone in the house loves the taste of it. So, when you're cooking with it, you have to leave it out or add it at the very end when plating up for myself. So, yeah, it's not grown as regularly here, but it would be grown more like the basil. So this is once you're doing it, it runs the seed quite quickly. You will, if you want it on a regular basis, you will need to sow it regularly through the seasons. It'll be on, every time we do the seed sowing guides, it's on that. So an essential herb in that it's used quite a lot. It is one of the probably most popular herbs. It's the one, when we run the workshops, when we run the grow your own workshops, grow your own food workshops. It's the one that people talk about a lot. It's the question that comes up a lot. How do I have coriander all year round? And the only way is repeat so, repeat so, repeat so. So, yeah, another brilliant, brilliant herb, but it is one that you're going to sow regularly throughout the year. That's why I find the ones at the start of this list are, the more that we can get from something with the least amount of effort is I think the perfect solution. So coriander, you're going to sow it on a regular basis. So if you really like coriander, you'll have to sow it every month. But some of the others just give so much more for a lot less effort. And yeah, I find them, yeah, they're a lot easier and suit most people's lifestyles. Next one on the list, number 10 on the list in terms of the culinary herbs is dill. And again, this one is a little bit like coriander in terms of, people love it or hate it. And here we don't, I grow it occasionally. And the reason I say that is it's one that's typically used in fish dishes. We don't eat a lot of fish here, for a practical reason. My daughter has quite severe fish allergies, so for that reason, we don't cook, and she's affected through airborne vapors from cooking of fish. So hence the reason. Um, I don't cook a lot of fish here, and dill really partners with fish brilliantly. But if you do, and fish is regularly on your menu, then dill is a brilliant, brilliant herb to grow with that. Um, and I think would be on the list of 10 essential herbs. So they're kind of your culinary ones. There's a bit of crossover then, so I'll go through them again. Rosemary, sage, thyme, chives, parsley, both the curly and the flat leaf, oregano, basil, bay laurel, coriander, and dill. And that's a good solid list of 10 essential herbs. Throw into that just a couple more if you want to have both medicinal and culinary uses. Maybe the likes of mint, lemon balm, brilliant for teas, chamomile, again, brilliant for teas, lavender, who wouldn't want to have that anyway? Harvest the flowers, beautiful scent, essential oils, all those things, all those good things. And then a lot of the rosemary, sage, and thyme, they will fall into culinary and medicinal, and huge benefits, antibacterial, antifungal. Um, so really a lot of high benefits in it. As I say, the workshop coming up on how to grow your own medicinal garden, that is the 5th of September. And yeah, that day really was, even for me, because I loved listening to the medicinal uses. I knew some of them, but to learn how beneficial these different herbs are and how to use them, medicinally was really interesting. And we'll be coming into that time of the year, September, starting to head for autumn, winter when flu season kicks off. So to know some things that would boost immunity, would be antifungal, antibacterial, all those things, is really good. And there was yeah, it was a really really enjoyable day because I learned a lot myself that day, which is great as well. So that's coming up and again, I'll put the note to that and the link to that in the show notes, um, for that workshop with Laura. But that's kind of the list of 10 essential herbs. The list is endless. Like there's a book of herbs here on the desk in front of me, and there is thousands upon thousands upon thousands of herbs in it. And herbs, depending on what you're growing them for or what your particular use, is the list is endless. So these are kind of 10 essential herbs for a garden. They're kind of 10 popular herbs, but maybe they're not the ones that you use. So if you don't use rosemary, for example, then why would you grow it? But if you use a lot of something else or you rely on something else for cooking or medicinally, then grow that. But I think that's a good solid list. Run over it one more time. We have rosemary, sage, and thyme, chives, parsley, curly and flat. We've oregano, basil, bay laurel, coriander, and dill. And if you wanted to throw in a few medicinal ones, then as well, chamomile, mint, lemon balm, and all of those would find a place, I think, in any garden. I hope that list helps you, Ivy, and I'm sure I know you have some of these already because you did mention that previously. So, but I think that is a good solid list, and I think it's a list that anybody should be able to grow and find lots and lots of uses for them over extended period of time. And exactly what I said, the more you can get from these with the least amount of effort is really what we're looking for. So some of these really, really fit the bill on that. And yeah, I think that's a good solid list of 10 essential herbs for your garden. And before we finish off, big thank you to this week's sponsor. It's Probiocarbon. Again, the link to that is in the show notes. And that's been this week's episode. Thanks for listening, and until the next time, happy gardening.